All right, it appears. I'm just waiting for a quick second. Just gonna let some people come in there while we get this party started.
Mm-hmm. I'm so happy we decided to do this.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I love how everyone always wants to know about the grant process, but never what happens after. So I was excited.
It's the best part.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's the best
Let your
part.
hair down a little bit.
Absolutely.
I know this coffee ain't gonna be. And what time is it for you? One? Is
It
it?
is straight up. Yes, it is. It is it is 12 o'clock. It is 12:01 because I'm central right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. All right. So let's get ready to get into it. I
Mm-hmm.
believe we have everybody on here. I'm about to hit this go live button. So now we are live on all of our social media platforms. So what we're about to do, we're about to get into this right now. All right, I hope you guys are out there. Let's see, I think we have a few people, couple people coming in right now. All right, I'm checking out my social media pages. It looks like we have a couple people coming on in. So, all right, so we want to go ahead and get to it. All right, so I am going to introduce myself. I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. My name is Nyaesia Campbell, and I have the distinct pleasure to have Miss Tierra Jones of the Nonprofit Development Hub. Thank you so much, Tierra, for joining me on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love all the work you're doing, so I'm happy to be here. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. All right. So, what we're going to do, we're going to start off with maybe me just introducing a little bit about myself. And then I am going to let her introduce herself and tell you about all the great things that Nonprofit Development Hub is doing, all the great things that she's doing out here in these nonprofit streets. So, that's what we're going to get started with. For those of you who do not know me or not familiar with us, my name is Nyaesia Campbell, and I am the founder and the CEO of Innov8tive Strategies LLC. And actually, Tierra and I kind of do similar things, which you'll kind of talk about in just a moment. Hey there, hey ladies, hey Jamila. So we're going to be trying to actually respond to some of our messages here and there as well. But
Mhm.
thank you for coming on. Well, with Innov8tive Strategies, we're a consulting firm that works with nonprofits, government entities, and other charitable organizations with capacity building. So a lot of our services look like grant writing, grant research, program development, fundraising, development, and grant management as well, and project management as well. So those are just some of the little things that we do. But basically, you would kind of look at us as being a concierge service for nonprofits. Okay, so you have the ability to call on us, to talk to us about all the different things that you will want to do with your nonprofits and with your charitable organizations, and how we can assist you with making all your dreams come true, and actually setting some very realistic strategies and goals to achieving everything that you would like to have occur. So that's a
Mhm.
little bit about what we do. We love what we do, and I suppose we have to love what we do, right? So without further ado, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Miss Tierra Jones.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Tierra Jones, and I am the CEO and principal consultant at the Nonprofit Development Hub. I also have the pleasure of serving as the executive director of nonprofit Attract Philly. And so, hence the reason why I even started the Nonprofit Development Hub was because I was an on the ground fundraiser at Attract Philly. And so, it was a given that I was able to give back by offering my expertise as well as my network to other grassroots organizations. And so the Nonprofit Development Hub was formed to help Black organizations, Black led organizations, and nonprofit professionals really learn on the ground strategies to move their organization from that grassroots feel to capacity building and really be able to sustain their programs. And so I love working with those people who have an idea and really not sure to, how to move it forward, or you've already started your nonprofit and you're really looking for sustainable strategies in fundraising, in grant management, in strategic planning and program development to really help you focus on what your mission is. And so if you are looking for any of those services, please reach out. We are here to help as well.
Absolutely. Look, don't you just love what we do? We have the
Right?
opportunity to. No,
Yes.
seriously, I love what we do. It's one
Hmm.
of those things where I like to use the phrase social entrepreneurs because we have an opportunity, right, to affect change within the communities, but to also, be able to do what we love,
Yeah, and
and make a living.
flexibility. That
Absolutely.
flexibility piece, I think people really take it for granted. I know as entrepreneurs, we are pulled in so many different, spaces. But having that flexibility, being able to say, hey, I can't meet with you now. Let me, look at my calendar in a different way. I do think it makes our work a little bit more enjoyable, especially, and it can give our clients a break too. So the flexibility piece for me is very important in this work.
Absolutely. Okay, so look, let's go ahead and get into it. So, our topic today is what's next after winning a grant.
Hmm.
Because as we talked about earlier, it's one thing to write a grant, to research grants and things like that, but it's a whole nother, it's a whole nother ball game when you're actually talking about implementation and managing and being compliant with all the wonderful things that you put in those grant proposals. So I want to just go ahead and get into it. So let's
Hmm.
start talking about it. Let's talk about this management. Let's talk about managing these grants and making sure that, we're compliant, that, that we can actually be in a position where folks call us up and say, hey, I saw that you applied for this grant a year or two ago. I know that grant is sunsetting. How about you apply for this next one?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you have those great organizations that know what they're doing, they get those phone calls.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is why these conversations are so important
Yes.
because people don't know that. They
No.
don't know that the funders will give them a call and we'll be like, "Hey, look, we
Nope.
got
And
this
tell you,
money."
and they will tell you how much to apply for. So,
That part,
hmm,
that part, they
and it,
will.
yeah,
They'll tell you
understand.
how much to apply for. They'll tell you when to apply.
Hmm.
They'll just help you out. And with a lot of these grant funders, they have program developers and program managers that will assist you even with the technical assistance part of it.
Yep.
But just to be honest, I think the thought of it
Is
of all the work that they feel that goes into grant management sometimes I guess provide barriers or perceived barriers from some
mhm,
organizations from even pursuing a grant because they think that it's just so much to do, but
right.
it's not necessarily about that. I would like to say that I think it's about
There it is.
strategizing and communication.
Hmm.
So what do you think?
And really, just to piggyback off of what you just said, strategy and communication. I think one of the things too, we are in a space where everyone knows that grants is free money, right? Yes, it's free money, but we still need to report on it. That RFP piece in grant management is so important because walking through the RFP, you will normally pick up on the language you should put in your grant. It gives you timelines. It gives you requirements for reporting requirements. It will even give, sometimes foundations will give you an example of what they're looking for in your grant applications. I know in the past I've attended a lot of RFP meetings for clients to learn about the grant opportunity. When an RFP is dropped from a foundation and you might be confused. I don't understand this language. This looks a little bit too much for me. Go to that meeting, that training meeting that they set. Because 9 times out of 10, if they rolled out an RFP, there is someone to be able to ask questions to. There is a contact to, send an LOI to even see if you can apply. And then the other piece of it is if you get onto the phone call, you can see what other organizations is also thinking about applying for the same pot of money and then using that as a networking opportunity. So what you'll hear from me during this call is really, I like to use one strategy to bolster up the other pieces of the plan that we need. And so that RFP piece, understanding what's in the grant guidelines. And again, if you do not understand, but you have an organization like the Nonprofit Development Hub or Innov8tive Strategies, reach out to us and let us know, because we can walk you through that process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you said it just right, is being able to understand what was in that grant piece. I will say when I talk to my clients a lot, for me, I stress them having participation in the grant writing process as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with certain clients and I've well, just to even back up just a little bit, I have had a lot of experience when it comes to working as a grant professional,
Mm-hmm.
from working with the federal government, working as a grant administrator, an evaluator. And so you get a chance to see all the different stages of the grant process, right? And so for a lot of people and for some organizations, you have people who may be a little bit more hands-on when it comes to the grant writing process, and some that don't want to be hands-on at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they may be in a situation where they don't even know what's in that grant and the different things that that writer has actually put in that grant that they are supposed to be doing.
There you go.
So what you're saying is right on time, is them being able to be able to understand everything that's been written in that
Mm-hmm.
grant. So I would say, even in the grant management process, as soon as you get that notification saying that you have received that grant, every partner, every person on that team that you put in that
Okay.
grant, every person that is going to be associated with that grant, I advise for my clients to have those first calls,
Mm-hmm.
discuss everyone, for everyone to get into a room, have those first meetings where you can get everyone that's associated with that grant and go over those things that were spelled out within that grant.
Mm-hmm.
Just, and another thing is that if you're partnering with different organizations or whatever, who's to say there hasn't been some turnover,
Yep.
right? And then so that person that you wrote in saying, hey,
It's
this
no
person's
longer
going to be
there.
doing that, they're no longer
Mm-hmm.
there. But you wouldn't know that unless you have those first initial
Conversation.
conversations,
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, who's going to be doing XYZ, or are we on track to get those things done?
Yeah, and I think too that's a part of, I mean, that's a part of grant management with the planning piece, right? We write the grant, you get the grant, and then there was stakeholders that was already a part of the planning piece of it. So now bringing it full circle, putting in a spreadsheet, putting some deadlines to it, making sure that everybody knows who's what piece that they're responsible for, I do believe is important. And then it will really save you some time when it is time to report on that grant. One of the things we do at the hub, when you sign on as a grant client, you have accountability sessions. And so through the accountability sessions, I'm actually teaching why, the rationale behind answering questions in a certain way. I want to also say here that the RFP will tell you exactly how to answer the question. One
Mhm.
of the things that we as grant writers might understand for people who do not write grants is that we don't give them any additional information but what they're asking for. They're asking a question.
Say
for
that again.
a reason. We do not give them more information than they're asking for.
Yes.
They know the grant, they know what they're looking for, they know what goal they're trying to reach. And so what we want to do is make sure that we craft a story that fits that parameter. Don't
Mhm.
think about anything else besides what's in that grant application.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, just go back and review. Let's
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we're still on the same page. Review with all the stakeholders that's involved with the grant. If you're having to do some hiring, now that you didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to do, stay in constant communication with the person, with the funder as well. Every grant has, contact persons assigned to it. That
Mm-hmm.
person will be your next. That person needs to be like on speed dial, your new best friend for however long, for the duration of that grant or period of
Mm-hmm.
performance, as they call it. If you are in a relationship with that person for the next 12 to
Yeah.
48 months or however,
Mm-hmm.
so that is so important. So I love that. I love what you said when it comes to that. Also, I would even say when it comes to like even assembling your team and going back over that budget as
Oh
well,
yeah.
right?
Whew, that's a killer.
Because okay,
Mm.
now I have worked with some clients that had some issues, some major issues when it came down to the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, it could be because, okay, I'll give you a prime example.
Okay.
I was working with an organization once, and the way that the grants were written by a particular department.
Okay.
So they're written by the particular department for a completely different department. However, the way the budget cycles and things like that didn't sync up, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the fiscal year, of course, begins and ends at a certain time. The particular organization, their budget cycle was on a completely different time. So now you have to reconcile two budgets at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. And what we mean by that, folks, if anyone's out there watching right now, the new fiscal year always begins October 1 for the
Mm-hmm.
federal government. Okay. It always ends in September, always starts in October.
Mm-hmm.
However, you may have some government organizations where they on a June, July type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, every July they're trying to, start over doing a whole new budget or whatever and closing out, June 30th.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in a situation like that, you really have to stay up on the budget,
Yep.
meaning that you have to make sure that your expenses and all these things align appropriately with
Mm-hmm.
the budget cycle from wherever you got that grant from, whether it's a federal budget, whether it's a foundation budget.
Basic budget. Yep.
Yeah. So budgeting, that's a huge one for
It
us. What about
is.
you?
It definitely is. I will say that I see the same challenge on my end, and it's really because they don't understand that a budget is really what you need to run the program. I get a lot of questions about what should be in the budget. What should I put? Should I put that I need a salary? Absolutely. Should you put that you want to pay your program team? Absolutely. Well, where is the money going to come from? That is why you do a budget. So we can figure out what funding sources we need and where we can allocate money from and who we can X for the prior year. And as you were just speaking about the fiscal years, your budgeting and knowing your fiscal year is so important because it'll help you prepare for years to come. Even thinking about the federal government times, that is normally when corporate companies make their budgets and say when they're going to give or how much they're going to give to philanthropic efforts. So that October deadline, thank you for plugging that. It's yes, it's great to know, but also have in the back of your head, no matter what your fiscal year is, because we know that our corporate funders, they are going off of a budget that needs to be approved before the year even starts. So think about that. And also as you go through, when you're thinking about a budget, you want to kind of you want to think about all of the line items and pieces that will
Mhm.
help you run your organization effectively. Is that salary, program costs, management support? any type of insurances. You might have a miscellaneous. And I will say, I've seen a lot of budgets with huge miscellaneous
Mhm.
line items, and you really want to be careful,
Yeah.
because when you put a miscellaneous at the bottom of a balance, a budget, they want to know, the funder wants to know where the money is going to. And so the line item miscellaneous really should be for emergencies, and that way we can, or if emergency happened the year prior and you need to budget for it because you know it's going to happen, you're presuming that something's going to happen again, but you want to also tell that story. They give you an opportunity to write a budget narrative, which is
Mhm.
also a great opportunity to explain those numbers in your budget, so you're not on a limb. But I will plug here again, if budgeting is something that you are not aware of and you need templates for, I can almost guarantee you one of us could get you a template. So just please put that in the chat, or connect with us.
Yes.
But budgeting is definitely, and it should not be something that holds you back from grants.
No, it should not. And we don't want people to think that you have to be some type of accountant or
Mm-mm.
any of that type of stuff. There are simple budgets, you know. And even if you don't do the old school, Excel spreadsheet or whatever, there are so many different platforms and softwares that are out there right now that will just be a simple, you plug in the number for this and plug in the number for that. They'll do the calculations for you.
Yep.
So, getting great technology will even help when it comes to, grant management, because
Mm-hmm.
that'll help you with those little pieces. But these are just nuggets that we want you to be aware of and to think about when you manage your grant, because we want you to be successful. We want you to not give any money back.
Right.
We want you to, to actually be fiscally responsible so you
Mm-hmm.
can get more money. Because
Yep.
if you are handling, the funds properly and they see that it is a need, you don't have to give any money back, things like that. Then they're like, you know what? This is a great organization. Maybe we need to give them some more money because, they're doing all this great stuff and it looks like they need some more help and they need some more assistance. Because
Mm-hmm.
believe you me, people, they have to give the money out. They have to give the money out. It has to go somewhere. They want to give it. I have friends who are, who lead various foundations and things like that. And they really and truly do
Want to
want
give
to
it.
give the money out. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is why, partnering with other sister firms like the Nonprofit Development Hub and some of my other, some of my other sister firms that I do partner with, and I call them sister firms, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them may be male, male led or female led, but I just call them that simply because I mean, it's more than enough opportunities out here for us to be able to assist you with the technical assistance that's needed so you
Mm-hmm.
can be successful and properly manage, implement, and move forward and see the grant from from birth all the way to being sunset.
Yeah, and I
So
want to plug here too, about the budget, that the piece we talked about with grant management and reaching out to the contact on the grant. Bill, if you are having a problem with the budget, or you can't, you don't have a consultant to go to, or you feel like you're out of time and you just need to go to the funder, this is a great opportunity and a segue to build a relationship. And it
mm,
is okay to be vulnerable and say, I'm not sure how to set up a budget, or I'm not sure what you're looking for in this budget. Do you mind giving me an example? Our funders are not out here to set you up for failure. They need to give out the money. So they will give you any tips they can to even the playing field a little bit. I won't say that to every funder, but I will say for the most part, if it has a contact information and it is like not a private foundation that's managed by trustees and you don't know them and you can't connect with them, you want to make sure that that contact that you do have becomes a part of your network. I really just want to reiterate that, because people, you're applying for a grant, you get the money, and then there's no relationship building piece. You
mm,
should be building from the minute that you apply. But if
absolutely.
you're not doing that, use the building the budget to have to ask questions,
Mm.
to have those conversations.
Wow, that's a great point that you brought up when it comes to the budget. And I would even go so far as to say, even if you have some modifications that you need to
Hmm.
make, like even later on, because think about it, when COVID occurred, there were so many, grant programs that were out there that were running, that were based on face-to-face contact, that was based on,
Yeah.
all of this engagement that they're going to have. And yeah, COVID came and just
Shut it
shut
down.
it, shut
It
it
did.
down.
It made you
It
look at
shut it.
philanthropy different, right?
Yeah.
COVID,
So now
COVID.
you're dealing with a different landscape.
Yeah.
And people
Yep.
still are trying to pivot, and I guess you could say even trying to figure it out and
Yeah.
maneuver,
Hmm.
maneuvering the new landscape, because
Yeah.
the landscape isn't the same as it was prior to COVID. So, you may even have some grants now that may have to be reevaluated, or either
Hmm.
you may even have to call up your program director, program manager of that particular funder, to let them know, like, hey, this is the situation, this is what we're dealing with, circumstances have changed,
Hmm.
landscape has changed, various things have come up. And however, this is the plan that we plan to, that we've put in place. We are strategically looking to
There
do 1, 2, 3, A,
you
B,
go.
C, to get all the different things that we said that we were going to do in that grant, that we
Hmm.
had to pivot. These are the things that we're going to do those things.
Yeah.
We just need more time.
And it's okay to have that transparent conversation. If you don't get
Absolutely.
anything else out of this, I promise you, take the transparent conversation and build those relationship with funders. The most sustainable organizations, the United Ways of the world, the Boys and Girls Clubs of the world, they have their funders at arm's length, and then they're
Yeah.
also advocating for their causes, which is a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
I wanted to
Yes.
put that there. It's about that partnership, finding that partnership in funders is so important. Not having just a transactional relationship, but understanding that the relationship between you and the funder can make or break your sustainability for your organization, and carrying that throughout your entire leadership experience in a nonprofit, I think would be very beneficial. Just seeing them not as the bank, just as the bank, but as partners in your work.
Yes. Okay. Now that provided the perfect segue to actually implementing the grant and actually seeing and doing the work.
Hmm.
Right. So now we past the part now where we got our team set up, our budget is straight, everybody's on, everybody got
Hmm.
benefits, everybody knows what it is they're supposed to do, because we've sat down, we've gone through every little thing. You do this, you do that. This is supposed to be done monthly, quarterly, or whatever. You may even have a checklist of compliance
Hmm.
priorities, where you would say, okay, well, these things need to be done every 6 weeks. If these things need to be done every quarter, these things need to be done biannually, because
Hmm.
we need to put those in our reports, because
Yep.
there are a lot of grants that you have to report to. Some of them
Yeah.
you don't, which is good, always a plus. But
I
for
I
those.
in Washington State, they're trying to move away from the reporting because it
Ooh,
does take a lot out of a nonprofit. But to this point, having if you're doing the pre work, once you start with your project timeline, build in some mechanisms that will make you report on the quarters or on the program. I know a lot of program teams have measurements and tools that they use. Every few months, build out a system that you're automatically getting the updates for the grant. And that way, when it's
mhm.
time to put a report, together, you already have the components. I know I like to tell my clients, if I need to work with your program team, I give them a template of the
Mhm.
things that we're gonna need to report on. And sometimes foundations give you a reporting template. So you don't even have to come up with one by yourself. In that instance, I really love it because then I can just shoot it over to the client and say, hey, this is the things I'm going to be looking for. So really knowing that reporting piece is important as well. Understanding what to report on to tell the story of your organization is really helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we even talking about reporting, we're talking about data, and different
Mhm.
things like that as well. And when we were talking about, there being some modifications with that, with the piece of budgets, I want to just encourage you guys too. Don't be scared of grants, okay? There may be some modifications with your data too.
Mhm.
Okay. Just like COVID impacted, people's budget with the things, the outcomes, the measurements, various things like that. So that gets into the data piece. So if there needs to be some sort of reset, if there needs to be some sort of accountability, if you need to go out and change your the way that you report, the method that
Mhm.
obtain your data, different
Mhm.
things like that. Those things may be things you really need to look at as well. So we definitely want to make sure we look at our data collection and our evaluation as well. I
Mhm.
want to hear from you though. What do you think are some amazing things that organizations can do to stay organized, and some project management tools that you think?
I am all for inclusive and transparent conversations, as you keep hearing me say. In the nonprofit space, it is very important to have leadership that understands that it is not just a one person show. So, no, it should not just be your board making decisions. It should not just be your executive director making decisions. It should be the organization as a whole. And I like to go into even thinking about grant applications and data collection. Right now grants are really handing in on, what's your diversity look like, what type of evaluation are you doing to make sure that it aligns with either state guidelines, educational realms. It's important for us to do the research to know how to best evaluate our programs. I will say, for me, I'm still old school. I like the use of spreadsheets. I do like being able to use uh uh I use Razor's Edge for all things fundraising.
Hmm.
But what I can say for smaller organizations, Airtable, like things, Asana, Notion, project management tools that you can quickly pull data from. That
Mhm.
is important. One, because we know that we put too much information in, we get a blob back and we're not too sure how to report or what story to tell. And so I like to be sure, when I create a program, I want to know what is my goals of my program. And that will help me best put measurements and outcomes, in place to measure goals as the year go on or programs go on. And so I always encourage people to make sure that their goals, the measurements that they're putting in place, is obtainable. I know we all learned this in elementary or middle school, but using smart goals is not out of
Yeah.
style. It is
No.
not, I want you to know it is not out of style. I still go back and I use it as a first strategy when creating program development, because it helps me to see if the goal is too far stretched or if this is actually something attainable that I can see my clients through. And so think about how best to streamline data reporting, but doing it in an efficient way. And I am a keen, let's have let's have data meetings. I don't really want to hear, it's program impact meetings, and that's okay. But I want to hear, how many students are we serving? If it's students, how many people did we talk to during our focus group? How many of our board members is actually fiduciary board versus just advisory council? There is certain things to measure a nonprofit as a whole, and then your individual programs. But understanding your programs and understanding what you're trying to get out of them will help you with data collection and evaluation.
Absolutely. And I do love what you said. And you did throw out a few names of some programs that people can use, such as
Mhm.
Asana. You did mention that. I think you mentioned Razor's Edge when it comes to
Yes.
fundraising. I've recently gotten into Bloomerang. That's
Oh,
another
yes.
good one, which it'll help you with a little bit of both, the whole grant
Hmm.
management piece and the fundraising piece. Salesforce.
Yes.
Um, there are so many programs out there right now. What I would say is for people to kind of see what's out there, and you may have to go through a situation where you may have to demo a couple,
Yes.
to make sure that it's the right thing for you and your organization,
Hmm.
because I don't know about you, Tyre, and I'm pretty sure you do, work with various organizations at different levels, right?
Hmm.
So some things may not be what you need for a smaller organization. You may not need some of these larger, more complex grant
Systems.
management systems to
Yeah.
start. You
Yeah,
and you may need
that's a
something
valid
that can
point.
grow with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You
that's a
make
valid
this,
point.
yeah.
Because sometimes too, and I think we get discouraged when we see, and I know you guys heard me say Razor's Edge. Razor's Edge is definitely one of the big systems she's mentioning. But to combat that, or to have another option for that, a lot of people can't afford Razor's Edge, and that's okay. And so you go through, you have your spreadsheets, you pull it out of Salesforce. I mean, I know there's some people who just do take donations on their website. You use those PayPal reports, any way that feels comfortable for you to manage your data, manage how much revenue you guys have coming in or going out. It really does vary based on organization. So I appreciate you saying that. I think too, I sometimes, when I think high level of the systems being used, it definitely is based on the organization budget. If anybody is following this and you're like, hey, I price Razor's Edge, and it is definitely out of my price range, do not feel discouraged.
Mhm.
One of the things that I also encourage is the demos, because and you're building relationships with those fundraising with those database companies. But you are able to see what system works well with your organization, and that is the most important piece. Notion might work great for me, and I just learned about Notion. Shout out to one of my friends who taught me Notion for social media. But you might find something that's a little bit more suitable to your organization budget, or just the way that you want to evaluate your programs and stay organized.
Absolutely. And just think about it in this way as well. There, even larger organizations have to go back and reevaluate if that's
Mm-hmm.
something for them. So sometimes people may be using Razor's Edge and then they'll go and start using something else because they've outgrown it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or either they like certain features or they don't need certain features here or there. So don't feel discouraged or look at it as a challenge in any type of way. Look at it as an opportunity for you to be able to upgrade your technology, because there are so many different platforms and softwares that are coming on the market now. And so, what I would say is, to be quite honest, I think people need to upgrade their technology quite
Yeah.
often, in my opinion, anyways.
Yep.
Like, I'm one of those people where I don't necessarily. I know that people have to have service agreements for, like a year or 2 years, but I cannot stand those service agreements when they're like 5 years.
Right.
5 years, technology.
It
I
changes
mean,
every year.
every year.
Hmm.
So in
Hmm.
5 years, I wouldn't suggest that getting into 5 year agreements unless you just have to. If that fits you, fine. I'm not saying
Right.
anything against that. But what I am saying though is that technology is upgrading so fast. And
Hmm.
they're making so many strides in it. And it's just one of those things where I think that we need to maybe, or organizations need to go back and reevaluate that,
Yep.
regardless of whether you have something that's technologically based. The big point is staying organized,
Yep.
making sure that you keep great records, make sure that you're keeping things documented properly. Going back to Tierra and when she was talking about that budget, making sure that every little thing is documented. If you're very good in with organization and organization skills,
Yeah.
you can get away with
Right.
spreadsheets and Google
Uh-huh.
Drive and be fine.
Right.
I have seen it. I mean, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. I cannot stand those large,
Right.
raw data,
Right.
Excel spreadsheets where you have the vector
Oh
chart.
yeah, you got to make a file, and yeah. It's
Yeah.
all, but I think too, it comes as your organization grows. You do start to move from the grassroots
Yes.
tactics to, hey, I do need a system. I know for me, y'all, I like using and learning about different systems, but if I
Mhm.
could have just one, if
Mm.
I could have just one that did everything, or at least half of everything, so then I can only use two systems, it would be so amazing.
It's
And
coming. It's coming.
whew,
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
I got my fingers crossed because I know that it's an easier way for us to do the work, but also
Yeah,
it's a more efficient way for smaller organizations to be able to get on it, to play big too. So
absolutely.
I'm looking forward, and as soon as it comes, we're gonna put it out for y'all.
Absolutely. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. But in the meantime, though, we're definitely going to give you these jewels and give you these tips so that you can be, regardless of where you are in your organizational development, that you'll be
Mhm,
competitive. That's why I love these talks, is for us to have an opportunity for me to talk on my coast. I'm over here on the East Coast, you're over there on the West Coast, and for us to kind of compare notes and be able
mhm.
to share these things with some of our other, I guess you could say, our constituents and
Mhm.
just people who need this, who
Yeah.
definitely need this information. All right. So now we've talked about, getting the grant, getting everything all, prepared and set
Mhm.
up. We've talked about implementing, making sure that we, have our goals and our milestones, all those things set up, our data, making sure that our data is taken care of, that we're staying organized. Maybe we can just talk about sustainability and also like partnerships and just measuring our success when it
Mhm.
comes to, grant management, because that's a big part. It's a huge part of when we come to grant management. Like, because there's going to be a point where you start the grant
Yeah.
and you're in the grant, but at
Mhm.
some point the grant has to come to an end.
There it
Okay.
is.
Unfortunately, the money, you can apply for another grant, or you can also look for other sources of income, other sources
Mhm.
of revenue. I shouldn't say income, I should say revenue,
Revenue.
for your organization. Also, what are you going to do and how are you going to transition your program to be self-sustaining,
Mhm.
so those are things that, we definitely would like to have you to think about on the front end, and being proactive to think about on the front end versus you being, reactive and
Right.
being like, well, what are we going to do? Now I have to, you know, um, in these positions, or, how,
Mhm.
can I transition this person over to a full-time position with the organization because now we have more money? Or
Yes.
have you found funding for this program that may have been a pilot, but now you want to go ahead and make it into a full-fledged program? But in the meantime, for those 2, 3, 4 years, you've been working on getting more funding. Maybe you've been working on trying to get more funding from other places.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a whole new revenue stream now that you didn't have before.
Mhm.
So just maybe if you want to just talk about that as well, as far as like some things that organizations can do for sustainability.
Yes. I am a big believer in looking at your funders and figuring out all of the ways to have a relationship and get funding. And even going back to the technology piece that you plugged earlier, you can write in your funding, you can write in technology into your grant and really understand if it's okay to say, hey, this is where we want to get to.
Mm,
But having sustainability comes with one, knowing who your partners are in the work. And so understanding your funders, understanding who the competitors are, who are the organizations that's doing similar work. Can we partner in some way to both apply for this grant? Can we partner in some way so that we can get a multi-year opportunity that will help sustain both of our organizations?
mm,
Looking at your funders again as a partner in the work and not just someone that can give a bank is so crucial to even figuring out, is this going to be a long-term position? And I want to give an example here. Hypothetically speaking, I'm in a relationship with I say Walmart. No, bad example. I'm in a relationship. I'm in a relationship with Coca-Cola, right?
okay.
I know that Coca-Cola give grants. I know that Coca-Cola might have a pathway to cause marketing. I know that Coca-Cola will give in kind. When I'm looking at my sustainability plan, and it really should be aligned with your strategic initiatives, you want to see how many ways we can build with this funder. And I
Mhm.
just gave you three right off the top of my head from just thinking about what products Coca-Cola has. what their priorities are in philanthropy, and then again how huge their company is shows what capacity they have. So as you start to think about what it means to sustain your organization, you really want to be able to be in a position to say, yeah, that's A partner, C partner, B partner, and I understand what they're bringing to the table to help us get to our goals, but also I understand where these funding pieces is coming from to make sure that we can sustain. And so it is a twofold thing with sustainability, understanding, and I call this the full circle model, understanding where your programs what your program's goals are that leads to funding. And it's a continuum. So your mission leads to programs lead to funding leads to mission leads to programs. It's a cycle. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as you can continue to cycle, I mean, as long as you can follow the cycle and really understand what crucial parts is needed, whether, and we know when we write a budget, we're putting government grants in, we're putting private, we're putting public, we're putting, all of our funding sources. But keep in mind what's happening with the economy too.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the drivers behind some funding is what the economy is doing. So as grassroots organizers, as nonprofit leaders, start paying attention to what's happening in an economy around your specific causes. That is something that you probably wouldn't have learned online.
Mm-hmm.
But that is definitely a gem to understand and know to move your organization and really to create a sustainable nonprofit.
Wow, you said a lot right there. I'm co-signing everything that she just said because all of it is very, very important. And you discussed a lot. You talked about the partnerships, which are, it's vital.
Mhm.
Okay. You definitely want to, you definitely want to cultivate those long-term partnerships with the funders.
Yeah.
You want to, cultivate long-term partnerships with all your stakeholders. You want to, you want to cultivate an environment where people
Mhm.
want to work with you.
Yep.
Okay.
And
So
what to call you, as you said, they will call you. If you were not in the beginning of this call and you're just joining, funders will call you when they want to give you money. And I also want to say, you can communicate your woes just like you communicate your highs, because that is building a relationship. So
mhm.
I totally, yeah, that's gonna, if you don't take anything else from that, take that.
No, I think that was some great information as well. And especially when you're talking about communicating your story to
Mhm.
the funders and utilizing that for, opportunities, you know, telling your story, letting them know, I guess, maybe some of your obstacles and your challenges and how you're actually strategically,
Yes.
putting a plan in place to actually meet those,
Hmm.
to surpass those barriers, I guess you could say. Also, you did say something that was amazing as well, and I always tell my clients that as well. Pick up the newspaper, turn on the news.
Hmm.
See what's out there, see what's going on in the world. That will dictate on what type of funding is out there a lot of
Hmm.
times. If you
Yep.
see it in the news, there's a good chance that you will see something come out pretty
Hmm.
soon where there's going to be a grant or there's going to be some other opportunity or whatever for funding somewhere down the road.
Yep.
So, you know, with your sustainability plan, you want to make sure that you have those partnerships cultivated. You want to make sure that you are searching for
Hmm.
other opportunities and ways to go ahead and make that smooth transition over into a permanent situation instead of going from, oh my gosh, we got to hurry up, we got to find another grant.
Varsity mindset.
Yes, yes. I mean, and you would be amazed at how many organizations that are out there that are like that though,
Yeah.
that they are, you know, that they're scared
Yep.
every time, it gets closer to another grant, falling off or whatever.
Hmm.
So putting that plug in there, it's always good if you do not, if you need some sort of someone to bounce ideas off of, the Nonprofit Development Hub and Innovative Strategies is always available to hop on a call
Hmm.
to discuss those things with you and maybe even give you some ideas on things that you can do to have some sort of transition plan.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're here for, and that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We, of course, we do the grant writing, we do the grant research, we can do some grant management, some program development or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that we want to see you succeed and excel at what it is that you do, because we're all in this to make sure that I know it sounds so cheesy, but for these communities to be in a better position than they were before we actually started working with
But
them.
that is the truth. And so if it sounds cheesy, oh well, because it is the truth, and we know that there's a lot of great organizations on the ground doing the work to better their own local community. And so we want to support you. I second everything that you just said. And two, just know that it might sound overwhelming and you might say, I don't understand. But having people that's willing to meet you where you are, that's not expecting you to know everything. We don't know everything. And so having that understanding will really take you a long way in a nonprofit space, because it's ever changing. There's different ways to approach grant writing. There's different ways to approach fundraising. There's different ways to approach relationship building. But the end goal is making sure that we can better communities. And so if that calls us the cheesy group, I'm a part of the cheesy group, y'all.
Look, I love it. I love it. And I'm just going to end it kind of here with, we've taken you through you getting the grant, setting it up,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you get the right team, making sure that you understand what the grant is, what it entails, the priorities, the ways to be compliant, and just making sure that you have great communication all throughout, right? And then getting to the point where we're implementing things. So now
Mm-hmm.
we're going to make sure that all the things that we wrote about in this beautifully crafted grant, that it actually occurs the way it's supposed to. However, if you do have to pivot, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep in contact with your new best friend, your program director, program manager, with the funder. They
Mm-hmm.
love us. They love you. Everything is going to be okay. They wouldn't have given you that money if they didn't believe in you.
There we
Okay.
go.
They would not have given you not one. No, they did
Yep.
not. Because believe you me, when it comes down to, grant applications, being on the other side and being an evaluator, there are some amazing applications that come in every
Yes.
time. So with you getting that grant, you have done, I mean, that's almost
Yeah.
all the work right there. So
Mm-hmm.
now they're just expecting you to just see it through,
Mm-hmm.
to go ahead and implement everything that you said. If you have to, change anything or anything needs to be modified, go ahead and continue to communicate with them. And then just go ahead and move forward with the third process, which is, looking towards sustainability during that time, and basically building your long-term partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you're on track with measuring all your success, all of your evaluations, making sure all your reporting and different things like that, all your ducks are in a row, and making sure that you're preparing for the next. We're making sure that we're preparing for the next. And then the final phase that I think is very important is make sure that you cultivate your story and craft your story. You
Yeah.
want to make sure that those people, those lovely people who gave you all that money, that they see the good work that you're doing. Like,
Uh-huh.
don't not show them. Like, you guys are doing some amazing work. We've
Yep.
worked with some amazing organizations, and I'm pretty sure you have too, Tyra.
Yeah.
Um,
I you would be surprised at how many people will say, well, if I send a picture, that means I'm exploiting the elderly. If I show a picture, I'm exploiting the kids. Pictures, as we know it, tell a story.
mhm,
Videos tell a story. Quotes tell a story. Anecdotes tell a story. When you are trying to um, tell the story of impact, we
mhm,
know, and you got to humanize this a little bit. If
mhm,
I just look at numbers, is that's going to connect me to the cause? But if I hear from little Robbie that went through your mentoring program, that now graduated, and you tell me that story, I have a better chance of giving. So
mhm.
us as fundraisers, as nonprofit executives, as nonprofit professionals in fundraising, think about the human piece of telling your story. It's the easiest way to craft it because it's from the heart. And then you remember your impact. I like to always say, when you're communicating your story, people can read the passion right off you. They
Yeah.
can see it through what you're saying. Be authentic. And
Mhm.
keep in mind, the only way to be able to get visibility for your program, to really reach more, reach more of your target audience, is to make sure the world knows about it, is to put them in front of, put it in front of funders, to put it in front of the people that supporting you. That does not mean that you are exploiting your mission in any way. It does not mean that you are exploiting the audience that you are trying to help, give resources to. It simply means that you understand how to sustain your nonprofit and you know what to do to get yourself there. So I want to make sure that is clear and understood. Communicating impact is not a scary thing, and it is very beneficial to your nonprofit.
Absolutely. You know what? I second that. I think that is a very important piece to this work
Mm-hmm.
is for the funders, because you have to look at it in this way. There are a lot of funders that will not ever have the opportunity to come and actually see what it is. Now, you had the opportunity to be selected and get this grant. This is your opportunity to really shine and be
Mm-hmm.
able to tell the story and show them exactly where their funding is going. And if you're that concerned about photos, just do a photo release. It's okay.
Yep.
We can get with some of our compliance people or whatever and help you with
Mm-hmm.
photo releases and things like that. So it's not even a problem. Get with your consultants such as us, and we
Mm-hmm.
can try to see if we can get that drafted up for you. So that way you can just have your photo release at your events, and and people can say, okay, well, yeah, I'm fine with being photographed. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine with being on video for you using my likeness, things like that as well.
Yeah.
So it's not even a problem. And one of the comments talked about as a marketer, authenticity is storytelling is key. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Authenticity is key. So thank you so much. Yes, I believe that as well. So before we get out of here, that is about all that we have for today. But before we get out of here, I just want to give Tierra a big round of applause for
Thank you.
coming on and gracing us with your words, with your knowledge, with your wisdom, all of this good stuff. So, and I invite you to please come back again.
Oh my
It's
gosh, yeah. So we
very
got a partner. I want to
okay.
thank you and your team because this whole process has just been amazing. I really appreciate our talk before this.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on your platform. I think that we don't see this enough, and so we share the same, common values, which makes this conversation even easier. So I thank you and for all the work that you're doing as well.
Oh, thank you so much. I have an amazing team. I cannot brag on my team enough. They are an amazing set of people. They keep me together. They keep me together, and they love these type of events where I have an opportunity to get out there and speak to you guys, and give this knowledge for free to folks that want to come on, right, and actually pick this up and actually have an opportunity to ask us questions if they needed to.
Hmm.
So this would be your opportunity to ask us questions and for us to be able to do it live, to actually respond live. But before we get out of here, let us know where to find you online, on your social media handles, and yeah, any upcoming events, things like that. Here's your
Yes. Thank you. You all can find me on Instagram at MPO _. Facebook is the same. And then our website is www.nonprofitdevelopmenthub.com. I am fully booked for the month, but I am taking clients for the month of June and July for accountability and grant writing. So if that is something that you need, please reach out to me or just click the link in our bio. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Please don't feel discouraged. You have a community. Reach out to either of our organizations. I can almost guarantee you one of us will answer and be there for you. But happy charity, nonprofit work. We're doing great. Just keep going.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And of course, you guys know how to reach us. We're on Innovative Strategies LLC on all the social media channels. We pretty much out there. So if you guys need to reach out to us for any of this type of work, or just have general questions. If we
Mhm.
aren't able to answer it, then we have no problem with directing you to, our other sister firms and other professionals that can assist you. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday and have a wonderful rest of your week. And then go into this holiday weekend and have some fun. All
Yes.
right. So until next time, bye.
Thank you.